In 1972, researchers followed 140 real couples. The more the parents interfered, the harder people fell. Not poetically. On the questionnaires, love scores rose right alongside the meddling. They called it the Romeo and Juliet effect. It's been repeated for 50 years. It's in textbooks, in wedding toasts, in every movie with a disapproving father. And when researchers went looking for it again, it mostly wasn't there. But that's the ending. Start where they started, in Colorado, with a stack of paper questionnaires. The couples were ordinary. 91 dating, 49 married, students and young adults with jobs and roommates and cheap apartments. Each partner answered separately. How much do you love this person? How much does your family get in the way? Then the researchers waited 6 to 10 months and asked the exact same questions all over again. That waiting is the whole trick. A snapshot tells you almost nothing. Change over time tells you something. And the change was strange. The couples whose parents got pushier over those months reported loving each other more. Not the couples with the most interference overall. The couples where the interference went up, pressure rose, and love rose with it. That's a hard pattern to look away from. The lead author, Rick Driscoll, borrowed the obvious name. 2 teenagers, 2 furious families, 1 very short romance. And the finding felt true immediately because you've already lived a small version of it. Think about the last time somebody tilted their phone away and said, "Don't look at this." You weren't curious 10 seconds earlier. Now it's the only object in the room. Or the group chat where someone types, "Don't tell her I said this," and you lean in. Something about being fenced off from a thing makes the thing start to glow. In the lab, that glow has a name. It's called reactance, and it was described in the 60s. The psychologist Jack Bram noticed people don't only want things, they want the freedom to choose things. Take the freedom away, and the mind does something sneaky. It quietly reprices the option. What you could have had becomes what you must have. Same object, brand new price tag. One study put 2-year-olds in a room with 2 toys. One toy sat behind a clear plastic barrier. Same toy, same room. The blocked one became the good one, and they went straight for it. Nobody taught them that. It shows up before you're old enough to explain why you want anything. So now stack that onto a relationship. Your mother sighs when you say his name. Nothing dramatic, just the sigh and a slightly too careful question about what he does for work. And a small door closes in your chest, with him standing on the inside of it. Because the argument has quietly changed subjects. It isn't, "Is he good for me?" anymore. It's, "Am I an adult who gets to decide?" And that's a fight you intend to win. Defending him becomes defending yourself. Every dinner where you take his side is one more brick set in place. Psychologists call that effort justification. We don't just value what we paid for, we pay to prove it was worth it. And the mind can't stand the idea that all that fighting was over someone ordinary. So it upgrades him, not by lying, by noticing the good parts a little louder and skipping the rest. There's a second engine running underneath all this, and it isn't a story you tell yourself. It's your body. Conflict raises your heart rate. Sneaking around raises it. A tense phone call with your dad raises it. And the body is famously bad at explaining to itself why it's suddenly revved up. You know this from the parking lot, right after a turning car nearly clipped you. Your hands shake for 10 minutes and everything anyone says feels enormous. Same chemistry, different story attached. So when your pulse is already up from the argument and he walks in, the feeling gets filed under him. That's misattribution of arousal. It's why the forbidden version genuinely feels hotter, and no, it isn't imaginary. You're not inventing the intensity, you're just wrong about the return address. If that just names something you felt and couldn't explain, that's the entire job of this channel. Stick around, because the next part is where the famous finding starts coming apart. Add secrecy and it gets stronger. A relationship nobody approves of is a relationship nobody sees. Which means it never has to survive a boring Tuesday in front of other people. You only meet in the good hours. She never watches you be short with a waiter. His friends never go quiet at the table when he tells the story he thinks is funny. Hidden love is love with the editing already done. Only the highlights ever leave the room. And every obstacle hands you a plot. Nothing bonds 2 people like a shared enemy with a face. So the theory has everything. A famous study, a clean mechanism, and a feeling you recognize instantly. Here's the trouble with feelings you recognize instantly. They're the easiest ones to sell you. Go back to that 1972 paper and read the parts almost nobody ever quotes. The strongest version of the pattern showed up in the dating couples, not the married ones. And even there, it was a correlation across a few months, in one sample, in one city. That isn't a law of the human heart, it's a lead worth following. Other researchers did follow it for decades, and the trail goes cold surprisingly fast. Later work reran the idea with new couples, bigger samples, and controlled experiments instead of just questionnaires. In some of it, the effect shrank. In some of it, it vanished. In some of it, it flipped. Flipped, meaning the disapproval wasn't feeding the fire at all. It was smothering it. Researchers would describe a couple to participants and change exactly one detail, whether the family approved. The approved couple got rated as more in love, more likely to last, more worth wanting, which is the precise opposite of what everyone had been confidently repeating since the 70s. And when you track real couples across years instead of months, the picture gets clearer still. Ask what actually predicts whether a relationship is still standing later, and one answer keeps surfacing. Not chemistry, not how intense month 3 felt, whether the people around you were on board. Approval and support from friends and family is one of the strongest predictors we've got. Your sister liking him is more informative than your heart rate when his name lights up your phone. That sounds unromantic. It's also the least romantic-sounding thing that will ever protect you. But why would other people's opinions matter that much? It isn't magic, and it isn't obedience. Most of it's embarrassingly practical. Support isn't a blessing, it's infrastructure. Approving people invite you to things. The two of you get a life instead of a bunker. They babysit, they lend a car, they take your side when you're being unreasonable, which you sometimes are. They also hold up mirrors. A friend saying you've seemed different lately is data you can't generate alone. A hidden relationship has none of that. Every problem inside it stays sealed inside it. And the couples who felt most electric under pressure often ran into one specific problem later. The pressure lifted. Everyone finally came around, and the thing holding them together walked out of the room. That's the part that should unsettle you, not the disapproval. The moment the disapproval stops. Because if a fire needs the wind, it goes out the second the weather changes. So here's the honest version. The Romeo and Juliet effect isn't fake, it's misfiled. Reactance is real. Misattributed arousal is real. Obstacles genuinely do intensify what you feel in the moment. What obstacles don't do is build anything. Intensity is fuel. It burns bright and it burns down. The boring stuff. A friend glad to see you too. A holiday nobody dreads. That's the structure. Nobody's ever written a famous play about structure, which is exactly why we keep misreading the evidence. Also worth noting, Romeo and Juliet are dead in about 4 days. That's the actual runtime. We took a cautionary tale about teenagers and impulse and somehow turned it into a relationship goal. So, the useful question isn't whether your passion is real, it's what your passion is pointed at. Here's a test you can run this week, and it's simple enough to be uncomfortable. Picture total approval. Your mother's warm about him. Her friends adopt you. Nobody has a single objection. Now sit in that for a second. Does the relationship feel safe, or does it feel flat? If it feels flat, some of what you're calling love is the argument you're having with everyone else. Second test, notice when the wanting spikes. After a good hour together, or after someone criticizes him? If your feelings peak right after the criticism, you're measuring your defiance, not your devotion. Third, count who you've stopped seeing since this started. Isolation rarely announces itself, it just quietly accumulates. None of this means leave. It means know which engine you're running on before you build a life on it. Because you can have both, the heat and the scaffolding. Most people simply never check which one they've got. One study said pressure makes love burn hotter. Decades of follow-up said support makes it last longer. Both are true, only one of them is still standing in 10 years. If that reframes something for you, like and subscribe. Next up, why the honeymoon phase expires and what quietly replaces it. Ask the question tonight. Is the pull toward the person or toward the resistance? Then go find out.